to have a deadline completion date so that they can all be submitted on the website?
Right, what
Or
I'm
is that
saying,
asking for too much?
well, what I'm saying, I think realistically, after the motion's passed, before the next meeting, is that, to say, before the next executive committee meeting, is that if motion passes, general board meeting, say next week, before the next executive committee meeting, then you better have your paperwork in or any action or no.
Both electronically and physical. I
Right.
agree.
Mhm.
Is that, are you done, Mr. Don?
Well, on that number one, yeah.
So you want, let's speak on number one,
The one about the committee specifically.
the minutes.
Okay. I understand what Scott's trying to do to make our process thorough and accurate so that when we go back and reflect on some of these papers or people come up and ask for information in 2015, we could say, here it is, we got it. Logically, it makes sense. Not practical. As the former president, what we used to do is request, just like you're saying, Connie, today, is receive all the committee recommendations in writing. The reason why we have them in writing, so that nothing's sent over the internet, no one's making a phone call and say, please put this on the agenda. Everything's done here in public before your eyes, with all the stakeholders watching. The second component to that, though, is what Scott is mentioning. Let's say, I'm gonna pick sports and recreation, we have the committee. And let's say they wanna help out one of the cheerleading teams. And the cheerleading team is gonna come up in a couple months. What Scott is mentioning is they want the committee to meet on whatever given date, and then they have to have a second meeting to approve the minutes from the first meeting before us. That makes it a little bit complicated because now you have to have two committee meetings before you come here to approve the minutes from the first meeting you just had. It really makes a lot of sense. But to go through all these meetings, to post them up there, and to try to avoid what people would say is fraud or they're lying, is simple. The committee is already composed of at least 3 committee members. If it was a lie, one of the committee members would raise their hand and say, you know what, that didn't happen. So the minutes do actually reflect the meeting. How? In the motion being presented. So the only thing I'd like to ask is if Scott would amend this, is to remove that secondary purpose of the meeting, which would eliminate the minutes, because now you're asking for the committee to meet twice before the executive committee meeting, if you follow what they're suggesting, because the first meeting would be to conduct business, the second meeting would be to approve it, and then they gotta still come here to say, this is what I did, which this is what I did. You turn it in writing, and if the committee objects, they would say, you know what, those motions are not real. So these are my minutes. But to have a second meeting doesn't make sense. Plus, how often is it gonna happen? We have a hard time right now having one meeting a month.
Yes, we do know that.
So now to have, Scott, and I don't want to say good or bad, but to now to impose an order or an instruction to the committee, say, you know what, we're not going to take your motions because you didn't have the minutes for them. So now we have to wait for another month. But the next month passed already because the cheerleaders don't need their uniforms. So once you have that one meeting, that initial meeting, the motions are your minutes. Because this is the product that comes out of the committee.
Thank you. Now, let me just reiterate that it could be a draft minutes, but it has to be documented. I've had several Public Records Act requests in this last month, and I am so embarrassed for the LA 32 Neighborhood Council that the past process protocol obviously did not work because I couldn't find any of the documents. I sent emails to former board members, and I have not. It's been like pulling teeth. So I would like to start a process. I don't think it's difficult. I do it all the time. If you're at your committee meeting and you're taking your minutes, I do it at the LA 32 Business Economic. I mail them to the chair that same day with a big draft. I don't see a problem. I don't think it's difficult at all. I think you can just take your agenda and put your votes and make your minutes like you said. You can scan them if you don't want to retype them. Those could be the draft minutes until the board, your committee approves them. I don't think it's difficult at all. I think it's just part of the process of being on a committee.
I think, you know, asking for the minutes to be approved by someone, it doesn't have to happen in that same month. I mean, for some folks, having 2 meetings in a month is no big deal. For some people, having 1 meeting is a big deal. So, you know, based on that, I think that if we put on the motion that the first would be draft, and then the following month must be a mandatory final with signatures, I think that would cover the you know, the exuberant number of meetings that we are called upon.
Yeah, when I amended this, I originally wanted to do it before, but actually it takes in consideration too much because let's say a committee meeting tomorrow, they have a resolution. They can't, or say yes. Okay, use tonight's teachable moment. Okay, the committee met yesterday, they drafted a motion, they approved it, they submitted it here tonight for inclusion on the general board agenda next week. And then the following month before, that's executive committee meeting, and they would have handed the paperwork. So I haven't taken about too much time here.
Whatever's reasonable, I'm just saying, it's not difficult to actually do the minutes on the meeting at the site, even if it's written and scanned.
I mean, just for the record here, these are April, May, and June minutes from the land use committee meeting, okay? And so, there are 4 sets of minutes. I'm not the fastest typist in the world, okay? I mean, finger, type, okay? But at the same time, once you have yourself organized, you can put out a product relatively easily, so.
Thank you.
So we're voting on this?
We have 10 minutes for our meeting, so we will not be able to, I'd like to put one of your motions if you don't mind, and then if any other stakeholders have.
If I can make a request for a second one, and there's a time-sensitive issue on this, and the reason being is that on a flyer, there's a flyer coming out on a meeting on Saturday that says we're co-sponsoring a meeting with USC, okay? In the past, co-sponsoring events have been a board decision, not an individual decision, because there was also a flyer going around today being put up by people going to the meeting, and this sends out in a sense, something like this, especially on a sensitive issue being the Health Science Campus Master Plan, needs to be vetted by the full board if we're going to sponsor and in a sense work with the entity that may have a bunch of community people upset against. So it's really important that something like this, okay, be vetted by the full board. Because co-sponsored denotes co-sponsored by the LA 32 Neighborhood Council. Well, all 21 members are part of that neighborhood council, and they have the right to have a say whether or not they're going to co-sponsor an event.
Do you know
Okay.
who approved that?
Yes, and I'll give you the background with that. I received a call from CD14 if we wanted to do outreach for this event. I said, of course we want to do outreach. Send me the flyer so we can do outreach. And this is how it came out. I did not approve the flyer, and it was within 1 hour that I had to decide whether we wanted to do outreach or not. And so I said, I'd rather do outreach and have the flyer ready. I didn't know that they were going to put co-sponsor. We're not paying anything. We're not, it's not going to cost us, and I agree. This was just USC, I guess, making it seem like we were part of the workshop. But I would have to say, having given the option, my priority is outreach. So I'd like to work with all organizations. I don't think in this particular, I'd rather have the community be informed than not informed. So this is an administrative decision as president and the chair of the LA 32 Neighborhood Council that I did, and the flyers are out there. I wasn't given approval of the flyers, so that was the only thing. I would have suggested that they didn't put co-sponsor.
Yeah, I was shocked because this is the flyers going around the neighborhood today on a meeting on Saturday, okay?
So I have to say though that it did cause a lot of upstart with the community. So if that's going to create more people to go and get more people to go.
Well, there's also one other issue too that we have to be cognizant of, that respectful of, that the meeting is actually being held on Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council territory. So I wouldn't want to be calling meetings that somebody else's territory represents. In a sense, our city council in the city of Los Angeles, they're real protective about not getting involved in another term's issues.
Right, and I don't
Like
think that was
CD1
there. The intent was a good one, to do outreach to the community, which is a priority. Here's the thing though. USC, I know, had gone to land use. My thing is, by the time you guys had made a recommendation, it would have been 2 months from now, so this is like happening now, and it's better that the residents are informed. So, again.
But I would just say in the future.
Yes, I agree.
In the future, yeah.
I agree, however, we had discussed that, and my thing is, if someone called you and says, would you do outreach, yes or no, I don't have time to go to the board and go through the whole thing. It's one of those administrative decisions that you have to make, and I agree. Next time, I will make sure that they send you the flyer prior to me agreeing to that.
Right, and for the record, I will be at the event on Saturday, and for the record, I will state that we were not going to be a co-sponsor of this event. Okay?
You're there.
We're there because I know a bunch of people who just like Village are going to be there on Saturday, but I want to make sure that this is not reflected. This big old hype here, right?
Thank you, Mr. Judge. Yes, Mr. Peña.
So I have a question, so if it's not affect, if it's, what you're saying is that this belongs to another neighborhood council, but it's affecting Hillside Village, why would it not belong to this council here?
Well, I was saying this, Membreno, is that when you say neighborhood council is made up of the committee of the whole, not the dictates of one, okay? And on an issue like this, that has sensitivity within the communities, then the whole
No, but I
board
think the whole
needs to
premise
be.
of your
well,
conversation was that it would belong to somebody else.
No, what I'm saying, no, Tammy, understand here that, for example, the meeting itself is on LA, is Lincoln Heights area, okay? Now, it's in the Lincoln Heights zone.
Who's the councilman?
No, Lincoln Heights zone is LA, Lincoln Heights Neighborhood Council, still Councilman Weezar.
Right.
But what I'm saying here is that I still would like this motion to go forward, because on issues like
But
this,
we have a standing rule on that already.
well, we have standing rule, not so much on co-sponsorships, but like, for example, if we had a meeting, for example, like a subcommittee, okay, that's ongoing, then that. But we say sponsor, that denotes that if you read this, co-sponsored by the LA 32 Neighborhood Council, the office of Councilman Jose Weezar, the LA 32 Neighborhood Council to represent the full board.
I agree,
Right.
technical, yeah. I guess the intent here is that we do outreach to the community and that we get these flyers out. We didn't have to pay a cent for it, so we just make it clear during the meeting that we were part of the outreach, not so much so sponsoring the actual project. And we will make it clear, I plan on attending that also. Thank you. Okay, moving on. So I don't think that that particular one, I believe we have a standing rule on already that the executive committee has to approve. The first one, I think we should just, we won't have time to finish another motion except for the
Madam
first.
Chair, can I make a motion to extend the meeting another hour so that we can get this agenda done?
Yes. Anybody second the motion?
I am not going to second the motion, here's why. Because the issue we got on here regarding the petition, and this is nothing, okay? You're going to have those two petitions on the agenda. That meeting should, in a sense, have a majority of the time period, so all points of views are heard from all sides. If you have a rush agenda, you're not doing any service to any stakeholder. I think what you do here now, you got two petitions, okay, is that this agenda should be majority based upon those issues, because every stakeholder, whether pros or cons, okay, whether they're the person who owns the property or the person's arguing against the development, need to have an adequate time set aside, and if anything, there should be some firm parameters how the discussion is going to be vetted. In terms of how many minutes for one side, how many minutes for the other. And if we try to cram too many things on the agenda, then what's going to happen is the rush process is going to overwhelm the process of giving
Yes,
people
Mr.
the opportunity.
Daniel, thank you, Mr.
Then
Johnson.
we should stop here and not
That's what I'm
add
saying,
anything
we
else.
don't have time to do your
So,
motion,
we don't
Mr.
have
Johnson.
to do
Because
your-
Well-
we have 2 minutes. So, having said that, let me just review the agenda really quick, because I'd like to move then to item 8, agenda setting for August 7th. So, no standing road, we're cutting, yeah, sorry, we're cutting it up.
Where is it?
We don't have time. 6? No. We're on 5. We just said we're doing it. Okay, so call to order, roll call, pledge of allegiance, item 2, 3, review and approval of the June 5th, LA 32, oh, sorry, it would be the July 10th.
July 10th.
Because I didn't. July 10th, LA 32 meeting. Welcome to officials, public comments, my report, president's report, the treasurer's report of financial action. I know that the P card reconciliations are done, so I'm assuming, Mr. Montano, you will have everything given to me electronically.
Those are completed, but we needed a motion on the treasurer's report to start spending this fiscal calendar. We need to have a motion for the first and second signature. Who's going to hold the purchase card for the next year and who's going to do the bookkeeping?
Well, they're not gonna have enough time. So motion to approve the treasurer's report and done purchase card reconciliation report for the month of July, correct? That's the end of the fiscal year?
No, but I would be the first to spend.
Oh, so it's June.
We did that already.
Approved.
That was the,
The P card?
yeah, we didn't have anything, but I went
Okay, let's remove that. No treasure, just the treasurer report. Thank you. Standing committee report, committee reports. We have the executive committee to create an LA 32 official letter and outreach ad hoc committee. Item A2, inventory done form, motion that the current and former LA 32 board members return all LA 32 equipment to storage facility for inventory and cataloging. That's going to be done by the ad hoc committee. Item A3, LA 32 motions brought forth by the LA 32 NC stakeholders, which are these. And that's it. Old business. Old business, ad hoc website committee. We're going to do motion to continue to hire Mr. Aaron Devandry, full-time website consultant, website designer, and website administrator to maintain and update website daily and provide continuous training to LA 32 board members as needed for an amount not to exceed $250 monthly on a, I know you said 15. For the fiscal year? Okay. New business? None?
Okay, I know where you live.
Board member announcements and adjournment. Sorry. Yes. Okay, we have public comment. Thank you so much for coming.
You did public comments.
Pedro Martinez?
My comment was for an item, that already passed. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it.
Oh, you waited this long?
Well, actually, I checked the wrong,
That's fine.
What's your name again, sir?
Aaron Martinez, H-E-B, as in boy, E-R Martinez.
2 minutes.
Okay, and it has to do with the project proposed in the, like, across the street of the school. I know that you already have made your recommendation in favor for the project, and I think that Mr. Scott, I think that's his name, said that it's being turned in, so I guess there's nothing you can do about it. But, I mean, if you can, please reconsider your recommendation, and, you know, when it comes time to maybe talk to, Councilman, we should tell that, I mean, we as the Sereno citizens will do that.
Thank you.
That's all.
And you'll have a chance at the next one
Yes.
meeting. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Manzano would like to recount his vote. This is less than 50 words.
Less than 50 words?
That's right.
I don't know, was that made before the vote or after the vote?
He said he would wait until, he did say when, yeah, so it was kind of left open. He never voted.
I would like to say that I'd like to honor what the stakeholders submitted as the previous president and obviously the executive committee member today. This petition I feel is now acceptable, meaning all we can do is put it on the agenda. It doesn't assure that we vote on it, because I'm telling you today, once we're there at the general board meeting, my same position is going to send it back to committee because it's already in committee. But what I'm doing is I'm honoring the stakeholders their right to submit the petition, which is an initiative today, and they have submitted less than 50 words, so I would like to accept it that it is agendized.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, can you please note it for the minute?
I will.
Is this yours?
Thank
Thank you. No. I have one person that would like to speak,
Okay.
since we didn't have any speaker cards.
Okay. Oh, I
Oh,
took it in.
real quick, just for the record, I wanted to take the notation on the request that it would be 2-1-2. 2 in favor, 1 opposed, 2 abstaining.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Those initiatives, like
The
stakeholders.
initiative was 2.
Yeah, so.
One abstaining.
Because initially, first it was 1 in favor, 2 opposed, 2 abstaining. The only person
It
that
was
was
1,
there.
2, 2.
1, 2,
So
2. I
now,
want to change it, I want to change it.
2, 1, 2.
Yes, yes.
So the speaker would be Jenny Adams.
Hi.
If we had time to get the question.
Sorry. Got here too late.
And that's still the same.
Plus, we can't take a vote anyway on fiscal matters yet, so it's, we have to have,
You have
No, I just would like to make a quick comment. comment because as a community member, I know the gentleman that was here, there should be more, I don't know what you say, more order, control within the board, because, I mean, it seems like he had plenty of time to discuss, and I think for everybody's respect, if it's 2 minutes he spent reading his documents, that was just 2 minutes, and I think he should put some kind of control with, it's done, it's done.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more, Lily.
Two things. One is during your president's report, if you could announce the vacancy.
I do have it on here.
We've been holding off on that for too long. And then also, in regards to the ad hoc committee that will be formed in regards to the letterhead, I would like for the committee to make a decision whether it's gonna include neighborhoods, all neighborhoods, or official communities, and if it's gonna choose official communities for the documentation of those official communities to be submitted. Also,
For the ad hoc committee?
yes, for the ad hoc committee. Also, that outreach needs to be done not only to the established homeowners associations or property owners association, but also to all the schools and businesses, because it affects everybody. And that way, everybody is informed and aware and could be part of the process. Okay?
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming, everyone. I'd like to see a lot of you guys here every meeting.
Turn it off.